Yase shalom, Yase shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom, Yase shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom
חדשה שבחו גאולים לשמחה על שפת הים. יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ka'al Yisrael. Say Adonai Eloheinu Be'amcha Yisrael U'tefilatam Be'ahavat Yikabel. Humbled in prayer we seek to reach you, hoping to be heard, hearts open wide, longing to be true. Oh, let us know that you are near. Open our hearts that we may hear your still clear voice within us all. May we be worthy in our prayer and feel your presence everywhere. And may we answer when you call. Say Adonai Eloheinu Be'amcha Yisrael U'tefilatam Be'ahavat Yikabel. Oh, let us know that you are near. Open our hearts that we may hear your still clear voice within us all. May we be worthy in our prayer and feel your presence everywhere. And may we answer when you call. And may you ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש בני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם בני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Congregation Micah. I'm Rabbi Philip Rice. Rabbi Flip is what they call me. That is Miss Lisa Silver, our musical director. And she will be featured not just tonight, but over the next few months because we're drawing near to a time where we'll have to just feature her. Yeah, so that makes us sad, but the Sabbath is a happy time. It's a time of song. And here at Congregation Micah, we take seriously the idea that this is Shabbat Shirah, that this is the Sabbath of song. We are the inheritors of one of the most ancient oral traditions in the world. And as Jews, we know that music builds bridges. It does so between individuals, it unites communities, it even crosses generations. Knowing a song can bring total strangers together without any real precondition. And learning a song sometimes takes prolonged exposure and a concerted effort It's sort of memorizing the words and the melody. So in this week's Torah portion, we learn of one of the most well-known songs in Jewish history. It's called Shirat Hayam. It's the song at the sea. And it's sung by Moses and the children of Israel upon their crossing of the Red Sea. The song is one of what traditional Jews believe is the 10 times in our history in which our people express gratitude in melody, in verse. So, pointing to the biblical text, the sages identify sort of two refrains. One is a sort of male voice. It's the sound of Moses. And the other is female. And that is, of course, of Miriam. Miriam, the prophetess, who takes a musical instrument in her hand. And everyone follows her, and they're dancing. And Miriam calls them all to sing. And the people sang because they were overwhelmed by the joy of becoming free. And it was like a modern day concert, right? The crowd started to get ecstatic probably. And Miriam sort of presided over an encore is what we think happened. And so commenting on this verse of Shirat Hayam in the Midrash and the stories of the great Jewish people, there's a Rabbi Halevi, and he claims that when Israel sang this first song to God, Moses had to lead them, just like a teacher will sort of lead the lesson first, and then a child will repeat it. And those of us who participate a little bit in Jewish education and serve the Jewish community, we know that the importance of teaching songs. It's a way we pass on our heritage. And so we at Micah could never underestimate the power of the common experience of singing in community. It's meaningful, and what it does for us is it creates even more memorable moments, and it helps build our Jewish identity. Because songs unite communities in a common purpose. They capture our endless endeavor here at Micah to rise above all the pain and the pettiness of life and the frustrations from the COVID. They allow us to attach our voices, our souls even, to something greater than ourselves. So, as we continue to wait for a redemption from this pandemic and a time of more lasting peace on earth, the stories of the Jewish people, the Midrash, remind us that the 10th and final song will be a Shir Chadash, a new song, and it will usher in a redemption that is worldwide and hopefully absolute, and it'll annihilate suffering and ignorance and jealousy and hate, all the things we don't want on Shabbat. And until then, like our ancestors, we at Congregation Micah sing for it. Because when we sing, I remind you, we link our voices to a greater purpose. So the Exodus from Egypt, it's this seminal event in Jewish history because it inspired our ancestors, an enslaved people. And then for millennia afterwards, it inspired others who were suffering. And so it's central to our Jewish theology. And since singing is sort of a shared experience that all of us, even me, can participate, it becomes a central element in our Jewish, really historical identity. So, everybody heard, I hope, of our singer-songwriter and scholar and musical songwriter in residence, Michael Oakes. And he continues to work for peace. And a couple of years ago, he wrote a Shir Chadash, a new song. It may be familiar to many of you here. It is a little bit of call and response, and we're going to sing it now. The words are, "When we sing."
When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we pray twice. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we are one. When we sing, when we sing. Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shiru Ladonai, lai 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 lai. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we pray twice. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we are one.
We are excited that there are people sitting in our sanctuary this evening, and as a reward for being the first, I'm going to invite Steve and Robin Abelman up to come kindle our Sabbath lights.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, creator of the universe, creator of the universe. By your commandments, we are sanctified as we kindle the lights of Shabbat.
So we're going to welcome our Sabbath bride with the words of L'cha Dodi, and at the last verse I'm going to go like this, and everyone's going to stand and look at the doors as we invite that person in. Not yet. And I guess if you're at home watching, you can either stand and face your doors, or we'll come in via the computer. Okay.
L'cha Dodi, l'cha kala, yalala, 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 b'nei Shabbat, v'kabbalah. L'cha Dodi, l'cha kala, yalala, 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 b'nei Shabbat, v'kabbalah. Shamor v'sachor, v'dibur echad, yishme'anu el ha'michal.
standing as we bless the holy moment, leave the week behind with the words of Hatzikadosh.
Yitkara v'yitkara shamei rabba B'hama tivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chay l'chol Beit Yisrael B'gala u'v'zman kariv v'yimeru
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam u'almei almaya Yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach Yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalam Shmei Dekudashah Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran belma v'yimeru
Amen.
Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Ba'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Ba'ed
We invite you to take your seats. I said we were going to feature not just Miss Lisa Silver, but her music. And she's got a Ma'ariv Aravim she's going to lead us in.
With the setting of the sun, you separate the light from the darkness. We praise you, Adonai, creator of the moon and stars. And as the evening falls, we trust that day and night are equal partners. We thank you for the day and rest in the tranquility of night. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah potech she'arim ובתבונה משנה איתי ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
As you recall, I said at the beginning of the service that you got to hear the songs at least once, twice, or more, and then they sink in, which means you got to come back next week, I think. All right, let's pause for a story. I got a story, because it's from the Torah portion, where, it's one of the greatest stories of all time, I feel like. God splits the Sea of Reeds, and the children of Israel cross in safety, and they sing these praises to God. Mi chamocha Adonai, who is like you, eternal God? There are other versions of the story, right? Apparently, when Moses brought the Israelites across the sea, the people wanted to sing a song to God, but they've been slaves a really long time. They sort of forgot how. They didn't have the joy within them. They opened their mouths, but nothing really came out. And at that moment, God sort of felt their frustration. And God sent birds from all the four corners of the world to teach the Israelites how to sing. And it became this custom among the Jews of Eastern Europe that each year on this Shabbat, Shabbat Shirah, the Sabbath of Song, when they told stories about the Israelites crossing the sea in the Torah, right, they would go outside, and they would have the children with them, and they would spread crumbs around for the birds so that the birds would come and give the gift of song to the Jewish people. So one day, legend has it that back in 1948, there's this old man carrying some huge packages arriving at the port of Haifa in the Holy Land of Israel. And he stands in this long line of people who have come from Europe. And they all look tired and they look worn out. It was a long journey. Terrible events had brought them there. But this was a new state of Israel. And when the old man approached the immigration officer, he set down these heavy bags and he presented the officer his papers, his passport. And the officer demanded name, and he said, Elimelech, son of Shlomo. Occupation, he said, I'm a rabbi. Name of the city in which you lived, he said, Chelm. He said, what did you say? Chelm. I come from Chelm. Chelm, as in the famous wise men of Chelm? The office appreciated the bit of humor. The rabbi didn't get the joke. He answered, seriously, I come from Chelm. I'm the rabbi of Chelm, or I was the rabbi of Chelm before. This look of sadness crossed his face. He remembered what had brought him to Israel. Officer does not react to his sadness. Instead, he begins to laugh out loud. He calls the other officers. Hey, everybody, listen to this. We have a celebrity here. This old guy says he's the rabbi of Chelm, and laughter is like filling the station. Laughter is like filling the station. Okay, good. People, they mocked him, the rabbi of Chelm, and finally the officer returned to his business. He said, all right, old fella, enough jokes. What's your name? Where do you come from? And the rabbi, he explains in all sincerity, my name is Rabbi Elimelech, son of Shlomo, and I'm the rabbi of Chelm. Chelm is a very real place, and the wise men of Chelm are very real, and I was their rabbi. And the officer realized that the man was not going to change his mind. So he wrote down what he was told. Fine, he said. Have it your way. What is all these packages? And the rabbi answered, they're cages. They're filled with birds. Birds. And the officer was even more surprised. He said, you brought birds all the way in cages from Europe? Were you afraid that we didn't have birds here in Israel? No, said the rabbi. When the Nazis came, they took everyone. The men, the women, the children. And by some miracle, I survived. I was liberated. I went back to Chelm to see if anyone else had survived. And there was no one. And I stood in the courtyard of the remains of our synagogue, and I was alone. And I realized that it was Shabbat. Shabbat Shirah was the Sabbath of song. The day we read the story of the crossing of the sea. And so all the birds came. And they came because they were trained to eat and to sing with us. But there were no children. There were no breadcrumbs. The birds were hungry. It was cold. So I decided to save them, the birds. I couldn't save the children. I couldn't save the song. So I decided to save the birds. And I brought them here because I know that here there will be Jewish children. And here there will be Jewish singing. Here there will be Jewish life. Here there is a future for the birds. And the officer stamped the rabbi's passport and said, welcome to Israel, Rabbi Elimelech, son of Shlomo of the town of Chelm. Indeed, you will find here Jewish children. Indeed, you will find here Jewish people who wish to sing. Well, you cannot live in Music City and not wish to sing. And to sing the song that unites all of us, all beings, not just humans, but animals too, everything that's alive. The recognition that it is all, in fact, connected. The words of the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
We continued the story by chanting. The words are from the book of Deuteronomy, and they're all about love.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Something kind of funny happened. I make all these slides so you guys have all the words, and it's Shabbat Shirah, and I forgot to put the words from Yikamoka in. So let's read. First we'll read and we'll sing off cue, right? So read with me. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Oh, wait, I got him.
Okay, it starts out easy, just he's lie. So here we go. Yalla lie, 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 yalla lie, lie, lie. Yalla lie, 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 lie. Yalla lie, 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 yalla lie, lie, lie. Yalla lie, 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 lie. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, oseh pele, malchutecha ra'u v'necha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe, malchutecha ra'u v'necha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe.
You guys know about emotional contagion? It's not just COVID we're spreading all over each other. We've got certain energy we have. And as a community, we've noticed that there's value in sharing that energy. And so sometimes when we're sad, we gather for a Shiva Minyan. There's some power in the fact that we're doing it together, right? So we get to this point in our service, and we're supposed to be feeling really happy. I can't tell from your foreheads, but what we do is we share some of our happy things, and then that allows us to feel happier because it's happening in the life of the community. And for brave people, what do you have to be afraid of? You just come up here as long as you don't fall down, and I'm happy to help you. You don't even have to show your face. We love people who might be celebrating something. It could be a big official thing, like an anniversary or a birthday sometime around now. It could be a very minor thing, like, I don't know, you went outside today. But you get a free blessing with admittance. So does anyone have anything that they're celebrating this evening? You got nothing. You don't have to come up. I'm getting you later. You're my only people anyway. Okay. Anybody got anything? My adult son went back to college. The house smells better already upstairs. That's not worthy of a blessing for me, but is there nothing? We're going to move on.
Oh, I know one that you've got, Rabbi Flip,
What do
though. Your daughter got her driver's license.
That is very true.
I don't know if you want to celebrate that or not.
Well, it's also not official yet because her birthday's not till March. They just let you take it early, but it means there's less stress in passing the exam. So, but look at the grandparents right here are stressed. Okay. Will anyone else come up to celebrate Howard's birthday? It'll be quick. Otherwise, you're stalling the service right now, and everybody's going to get hungry for Shabbat dinner. May the God of birthdays bless you, and may you have 120 more of them. Everybody says amen. Amen. Okay, we're going to move on.
Ashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim Ashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim Ufros aleinu sukkot Sukkot shlomecha V'hoshienu l'man shemecha Help us to know that you're near, that your presence is here. Let us lie down in peace every night. And when we rise in the day, keep us sheltered, we pray. Guide us, God, with your love and your light. Baruch atah Adonai, apor sukkot shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
Another original piece by Miss Lisa Silver.
Shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat L'dororam b'rit olam A day of restoration, a cleansing of the soul For all the broken pieces once again to be made whole To celebrate the wonder of creation and the gift of time. Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael, ori leolam. Ki sheshit yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Uvayom hashvi the soul, for all the broken pieces once again to be made whole, to celebrate the wonder of creation and the gift of time. A day to appreciate the sacred in our world.
We rise together if you're able on page 46 if you have a book for Tefillah, our central prayer.
Adonai tzifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Habivor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol atah Rav L'Hoshia, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishay Ne'afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umido Melech, Melech Memit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
We offer, as always, a little bit of silence. And when you're done, you may be seated.
Shalom, shalom, shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha. Tasim, tasim, tasim l'olam. Ki ata hu melech gadol, v'chol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech gadol, v'chol hashalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha. Tasim, tasim, tasim l'olam. V'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael. V'chol ed uv'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha. Tasim, tasim, tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
It's at this point in our service, our central prayer, where we just heard beautiful music, Shalom Rab, may there be much shalom, wholeness, and peace, that we think about those people who, in fact, do not have that sort of sense of wholeness and peace. And specifically, we mention the names in our community of Steve Geringer and Paul Richter, Crystal Miller, Charlie Baugh, Dick Eskin, B.B. Weinstein, Alex Morgan, Bill Drongowski, Edria Ragusin, Janice Grossman, Jill Gutnick, Florence Wittenstein-Saperstein, Mike Harris, Caitlin Kopelman, Michael Groh, Karen Kotlanow, Jessica Waldron, Tara Spratt, George Hahn, Ann Norman, Julie Haynes, Gina Gugliami, Alan Sherman. These are just the names I have in front of me. We, of course, think of all people who are feeling sick in any way during this pandemic. And I invite you to add the names of people you may know of specifically as my hand passes across the room.
Gary Davidson, Susan Bernheim.
We invite you to join us.
For the hurt of body and of soul, for the suffering and pain, as you heal the ones who came before, may you heal us just the same. Refuat hanefesh v'haguf elna refana. Refainu Adonai refuat shlema. Refuat hanefesh v'haguf elna refana. Refainu Adonai refuat shlema. For the hurt of body and of soul, for the suffering and pain, as you heal the ones who came before, may you heal us just the same. As you heal the ones who came before, may you heal us just the same.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
It was late in the month of August, 1996, and I was in Jerusalem, sitting at a Shabbos table with several contemporaries, fellow soul. Shabbat Shalom. It was late in the month of August in 1996. I was in Jerusalem, sitting at a Shabbos table with several contemporaries, fellow souls from our seminary, the Hebrew Union College. We were living in Israel for the year on a professional passage to becoming rabbis. And the joy in the group that evening was palpable. The city was quiet. Classes suspended until Sunday. The week was over, and like many in the Holy City, we sat in the sacredness of newly forming friendships, soaking it all in between the blessings and the challah and the intellectual banter as the candles began to burn low. Someone in the group of 6 or 7 of us started to hum, to like sing, Zmirot, songs at the table with Shabbos. First ninganim, wordless melodies. Na 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 na. So I sang.
And someone at the table, I won't say who, she lives in Boulder, Colorado, could not contain herself. She started laughing at me about how bad and far off key I was, and her husband was mortified. It didn't hurt. I mean, I was in my 20s, and I knew I was going to need some musical assistance on this spiritual journey of becoming an ordained rabbi. So I thought, I'll make sure there's a good cantor. I mean, it's why I do my rabbiing here at Congregation Micah, because atop all those that accompany me and sort of cover for me, they allow me to model the importance of singing anyway. And at the top, of course, is Miss Lisa Silver. Pause for applause. We're going to feature her music over the next few weeks. You know, music's such an integral part of our city and of our congregation, of our identity. And tonight is the Sabbath of Song. The Torah tells us the tale of how ancestors escaped from Egypt, and the children of Israel, and we here at Micah are their children's greatest grandchildren, crossed a split sea and sang a song, standing at the threshold between one trying day and the next, between the memory of the harshness of Egypt and the prospect of the wilderness's harshness, between the slavery they had felt, feeling trapped like us, and the uncertain future that would begin with the next sunrise. Our ancestors chose to sing. I mean, that is what we Jews do. It's what we do here at Micah. We sing to reduce our anxieties. We sing to link our voices with others, if only virtually. We sing to reaffirm our faith and express our thanks, and to help us feel united when we feel apart. We sing to give us hope. Told for thousands of years over countless Seder tables all over the world, this is the story that defines us as much as any other. The children of Israel, now free from slavery, camping by a seashore, and suddenly they hear the sounds of Pharaoh's army approaching again. And trapped, they cry out to Moses, "Was it not for enough graves in Egypt that you brought us here to die in the wilderness?" And Moses tells everyone, "Be cool. Have no fear. Watch and witness the power of our deliverance." And then God speaks to Moses and says, "Why do you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to go forward. Lift up your rod and hold your arm over the sea and split it." Moses does as God commands. He lifts his rod, but nothing happens. He tries again. He rehearses what he's supposed to do, what he's supposed to say, and again, nothing happens. And then beads of sweat begin to appear on his forehead, and the people are growing restless again. There are cries of terror. Moses is powerless. Suddenly, out steps Nachshon ben Aminadav, and to the astonishment of the people, Nachshon just wades into the water. "What are you doing?" shouts his Jewish mother. "You can barely swim." He knew exactly what he was doing. He understood why the sea wouldn't yet split. All the redemptive acts at this point were enacted by God. God sent Moses to Pharaoh. God sent the plagues. Now God waited to see if anyone would take into their own hands the task of redeeming the people. God waited to see if anyone would be willing to risk their lives, to bring freedom and liberty to the people. This was the original "give me freedom or give me death" moment in history. And with the screams of his family in the distance and Nachshon's own life in peril, the sea finally opened and they crossed in safety. The rabbis tell us this story because they recognized that something in the original tale was missing: the role of us, humans. God can create the conditions for redemption of the world, but someone has to jump into the water. Someone visionary must be brave and take a leap of faith, a leap of action into the waters of history. Because the waters can be cold and dangerous, and the currents can be strong, but in every generation there have been Jews willing to jump in. Sometimes the water splits, and sometimes it doesn't. Those who do are heroes and inspire us to sing. Az Yashir Moshe Uvene. Don't worry, I won't sing it solo. But what does it mean? It means Moses and the children of Israel sang this song. And thousands of years later, we are singing the very same words that they sang on the other side of that seashore. The melodies vary. The power of the message of those ancient words still alive. Music is often it's the key that unlocks our memory. The melody plays and our minds, they travel back. I don't know if it was central in the minds and spirits of Moses and Miriam and the children of Israel who first sang it, but their song brings us back. It returns us to the moment. It enables us to experience the event as if we were there. When we sing, we relive the power of those words. Memory alone, however, is not enough. Our remembering connects us to the past and at the same time provides a vision for the future. Our collective memory of this story, retold every Passover and relived every day, it instills in us the dreams that we too will be free of this pandemic, that we too might know redemption from dis-ease. And singing our stories acts as a reminder of how we might contribute to that coming about. Every day we stand on the shores of a sea, individually and collectively. Shall we serve as agents of hope or not? There were other groups of our descendants, the children of Israel, who sang. Some sang for all that they were worth. They sang when the campfires were laid and kindled, and they were still singing hours later as the last embers cooled. They couldn't all have been that good at singing. It wasn't a choir. Truth is, they sang because singing enabled them to forget, if only briefly, the painful memories of the workday that passed, the fears of the future they had. They sang, those first Israelis, those pioneers, with spirit and with feeling. Those who built Israel nearly a century ago, kibbutz by kibbutz, village by village, they gathered to sing. They sang because singing helped them reconnect to old ideals, to each other, to their inner peace. Congregation Micah is a colorful community of voices, some at the bottom like mine, and some at the top like Miss Lisa Silver. Together we fend off depression, we improve blood flow in ways that like statins do. We lower our levels of stress-related hormones like cortisol, and we ease emotional pain by providing comfort and hope through music. Our ancestors gave us a treasure chest of theology, all wrapped up in songs. And as inheritors of this great tradition, we offer these words of song to you. Shabbat Shalom.
sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru Adonai, shir chadash.
Thank you, Miss Lisa. We are going to begin our concluding prayers with the words of Aleinu. I hate to put pressure on them, but the Averys are my ark door openers. Anyone who wants to come open this ark door, it's really heavy, they could use help. If not, we invite those who are able to please rise.
Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, l'teit tgula liotzer b'reishit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anaknu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Here at the end of our service, we think about those people who still remain with us in spirit. We mention the art sites of Kenneth Cutler, of Rabbi Michael Singer, Belinda Ricky Isaacs, Tilly Lip, Lee Morgulan, Samuel Itzkowitz, Ralph Max Cohen, Stephen Newman, Thatcher Carr, Melvin Stein, Richard Bourne, Irving Slotchever, Leroy Allen Schwartz, Bess Coral, Marilyn Jacobs, Diana Rossman, Deborah Allen, Ann Golden. We also recall the recent passings in the names of Toby Siegel, Stephen Joel Dubin, Norman Heyman, and just this past 2 days, Lucille Foley and Sheldon Grossman. Our condolences, of course, go out to all the families. I see Scoop and his family here, and Bill, thanks for joining us. We join together after names you mentioned in the words of Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ba'alma Divra Hirute, V'yamlich Malkute, B'chayachon Uvyomachon Uvchaye Dekol Beit Israel, Ba'agala Uvizman Kariv V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'alam Ulalmei Almaya, Yitbarak V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal, Shemei D'Kudisha Barichu, Le'ela Minkol Birkata V'shirata, Tush Bechata V'nekamata, Tamiran Be'alma V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mramav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru, Amen. Zikronam Levracha, may their memories always live on as a blessing. We invite you to be seated just briefly. I'm going to make these very few announcements. First is, if you like services, you should try Torah study. It's the next step in your spiritual development. 9 a.m., easy to sign on. You can come late, you can leave early. We try really hard to not judge you, but to have a good time just discussing the portion. Majan is taking what we call in Hebrew a hafsakah. It's taking a break because of Omicron, and we'll meet again in February. Shmooze and Views is going to plunge forward. That's because we do it online and in person. If you feel safe and you want to come join us in the library. If not, you can Zoom on in. And that will be our political conversation taking place Thursday mornings at 10:30 a.m. Rabbi Lori Rice is joining with Rabbi Joshua Kulik from West End Synagogue for a 2-part Lunch and Learn series. The trick is you provide your own lunch at home. They are going to have some virtual conversations online. The first session will be held January 20th at noon. They do real well together. You would enjoy it. Continuing our toy drive that actually just began January 1st, we're actually trying to help out Vandy's Children's Hospital. If you've got some extra donations, some toys that you didn't open or don't want, you can drop them off at the office here the next time you come by. And as always, to stay updated, we are going to invite you to like us on socials. Everybody's going to turn their head in a weird way to the back of the room to Misty Lewis, who is our new our title? Communications Director. Wait till you see what happens on these social medias. Okay, all of that to be said, we're feeling joyous. We're going to rise one final time and make a kiddush and do a closing song. I don't have a kiddush.
We're doing an invisible kiddush again tonight. Virtual kiddush.
Virtual kiddush.
Here we go. Okay, he's getting it.
Ready.
There we go. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, b'ahava uvratzon, inchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila, l'mikrae kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim. Kivanu v'chata, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodsecha, v'ahava uvratzon, inchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha'shabbat.
All right, let's sing them out. A little Adon Olam, is that what we're doing?
That's what we're doing.
Let's do it.
Adon olam, asher malach, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, v'nasa b'chefso po, azay melech shemo nikra, me'acharei kichlot hakol, levado yimyoch nora, v'hu haya, v'hu hoveh, v'hu yiyeh, v'tifara, v'hu echad, v'ein sheni, v'hamshilo, v'hachira, v'li reshit, v'li tachlit, v'lo haoz, v'am yisra, v'hu eli, v'chai lo ali, v'tzur chevli, v'eit zara, v'yunisi, u'maros li, v'nat kosi, v'yom ekra, v'yaro, afkir ruchi, v'eit ishan, v'ayira, v'imruchi, v'kiyati, Adonai li, v'lo ira. One, two, three, four.